Thank you for staying tuned. Now, the Rivers LG elections have raised more questions than answers. We saw heavy security presence, a curfew, and of course, a last-minute court ruling that gave that final nod and the green light. But beyond the legalities and logistics, we'd look at these elections and what it says about grassroots democracy in Rivers. Do they bring the people closer to real representation, or they expose the cracks in Nigeria's democratic framework? A lot of reactions have trailed this particular election, but to help us unpack this, we're joined by a Rivers-based public affairs analyst, Olalekan Ige. You're welcome on the program. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon and thanks for having me.
Good afternoon and welcome to Niger Delta Today. Well, we're looking at the just concluded local government elections in Rivers State. And to have been personally there, I had seen a number of activities, a number of things that made raised some questions, even from the people who are resident in Rivers State, some of which has been the relationship between the people at the top and those at the grassroots. And let's begin by understanding the political frame in Rivers State as of now, even after this Rivers State election or the local government election.
Well, the political frame is that of a mixed background. I'm sure you are aware that for the local government election, the two major political parties in Rivers State, talking about the APC and the PDP, agreed, to support each other in some of the positions to be contested for. Rivers State has 23 local government areas, and out of the 23, PDP supported APC to produce 20, while APC supported PDP to produce council chairmen in 3 local government areas. So you could say it's that of unity for now among the two major political parties in Rivers State. So that's what on ground as far as the local government election is concerned.
Well, there are still concerns regarding how the political rifts that we've heard going on in Rivers State and the litigations regarding the oppositions to the elections, which of course we saw from a faction of the PDP. Now, what do you make of all of that? Is it that overnight they just kissed and made up, or are there still issues on ground regarding this particular poll that that has finally been held?
Of course, there are still issues that are on ground regarding the local government election. Recall that before then, some group had gone to court to challenge the legality of the administrator in Rivers State, talking about the IBAs to conduct local government election. Some are already in court also trying to question the propriety of holding an election against the background of what the Supreme Court has stated in their decision to annul last year's local government election conducted by the suspended Governor Sim Fubara. In that judgment, Supreme Court had stated that, look, for a state independent electoral commission to conduct election, it must give at least 90 days notice, minimum of 90 days notice to conduct election. Some were already in court to challenge why the state independent electoral commission will organize election in less than 40 days. So they are already challenging the propriety of that local government election holding. So there are still issues that are on ground, and only the final court in the land, talking about the Supreme Court, can give a final, verdict to that. So for now, that's what's on ground. Those that are in court will wait for the outcome of the verdict of the court and see what happens. Some are opposed to the election, but then are not really challenging it in the court of law. So it's a different thing to be opposed by an election, and it's another thing to also be able to challenge it and go the whole up, to the highest court in the land. So those are some of the little issues here and there still surrounding the local government election.
Okay, I'd like to take you up on your own words, where you spoke of unity between the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party. Was this election about supremacy of power of political parties, or it was about the supremacy of the people's interests?
Now, when you talk about the supremacy of political interest, unfortunately, you require the platform of a political party to contest an election. Now, if two parties come together and say, look, we have agreed to support each other for certain elective positions. They've committed no crime. There is no law under the Nigerian Constitution, neither is in the Electoral Act, that stops political parties from coming together to present a common candidate. So as far as the law is concerned, as far as politics is concerned, as far as the Electoral Act is concerned, the two parties have not committed any crime. So that's on the side of political interest. Now, on the side of the powers of the people, we run a plural democracy. The people were at liberty to vote against the two political parties because we had candidates that contested on the platform of other political parties. So they were at liberty, to abandon the two parties who have decided to come together to field their candidates and vote for candidates of other political parties. And on the face value of what we have seen so far, it's always said that, look, the minority we have their say, the majority we have their way. On the surface of the announcements of those who won the political positions, you will say that, look, the two main political parties were able to have their way based on what was announced. So the interest of the people will only go as far as determining who wins the election in the overall contest.
All right, Mr. Ige, let me take you up on something that is still troubling. As far as we know, Rivers State is still a PDP state. How do we explain the sharing formula where APC gets 20, the agreement that the APC should get 20 of the local government areas while PDP gets 3? Don't you see an issue there?
No, like I said earlier, only the members of a political party can contest whatever their parties are doing. If you are not a member of a political party, you do not have any right to complain about what the political party are doing. That is not your complaint. The best way to do that, is to vote against that party in an election. That's the best way to do that. Only the members of a political party or political parties can complain about the activities of that party. That is why party membership is strictly by subscription. So if you are not a member of a party, you can't complain about the activity of that party. The best way to punish that party for the decision that's taken by the general electorate is to vote against the party, in an election. So if you ask me, as the PDP or the APC, have they committed any crime? If members of the party agree that their parties should work together, then that is no longer the business of somebody who is not a member of that party. You understand? So you can vote against that decision in a general election. And that is what happens in different democracies. When the party fields a candidate that people don't like and the people complain against, they vote against the party and punish the party with their vote.
All right, Mr. Ige, well, I have a follow-up question for you. Now, let's start from the very basic, the microclimate that is witnessed in Rivers currently. Now, it all started when the executive order suspending the governor and placing Rivers State on a state of emergency, the issues that unfolded, we all know of that. But then it all culminated now at the local government polls. How do you think this has gone ahead towards affecting the legitimacy of these polls, especially when you mirror it side by side with the polls of the people and the voter apathy that eventually resulted in this local government poll?
If we take our minds back to when the state of emergency was declared in Rivers State, I'm sure you know that a vast majority of Nigerians were clearly opposed to the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. Unfortunately, the people have made their statement, but the National Assembly, who is the representation of the people, supported the president to say, look, he had the right to not just declare a state of emergency, he also had the right to suspend two key important democratic institutions. That's that of the governor and that of the legislature. That makes it law as far as it is concerned because the National Assembly had voted against it. Now, also recall that PDP governors went to Supreme Court and said, look, Supreme Court, we want you to interpret this declaration of state of emergency by the president. If he had the power, then does he also have the power to suspend an elected governor of the state? And does he also have the power to suspend elected members of the state of assembly? that is still in court. So we await the judgment of the court to actually let us know whether the president had the right to suspend the legislature and also to suspend the executive, the governor, of the state. So that's on one hand. On the other hand is that what has now happened has now been predicated upon a gazette already signed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to allow the state of emergency to take place in the state. So there's an official gazette to that effect. We've seen just some aspects of that gazette. So whatever that has happened so far is based upon what is in that gazette, and that's what the administrator has been using, to govern the state. So you put all of that together and say, well, the man is operating within the framework of what was handed over to him. Now, to the generality, of Rivers people. Rivers people are, and it is to have an elected governor back in the state. Then it is to have the House of Assembly back in the state. They are not too much given to the declaration of the state of emergency, but then the state has to move on, things have to move on. But their ultimate desire is for democratic institutions to be restored back, to the state. And one of the major actors in what has led to the state of emergency, with the Minister of the FCT, has also said that, look, he's also desirous that democratic governance should return back to the state. All of this put together will signpost what is to come when the state of emergency ends. What the Supreme Court say? What the Supreme Court says, look, the president didn't have the powers to suspend an elected governor and elected legislature. Then it means that every foundation built on that state of emergency will naturally collapse, meaning that even the newly sworn local government chairman will have to go because you can't put something or nothing. So a lot of things will still happen for the court to decide what has happened in the state so far.
But then there's been the discussion that this local government election is meant to act as a springboard to the reinstatement of the suspended governor and the House of Assembly members. But then we also noticed that during the elections, there was little or no capturing of the suspended governor or the Martin Zemaule-led House of Assembly in being a part of the local government election. And that also raised questions as to their acceptance of the local government election, and if this will also pave the way to reinstate these persons back as elected into their elected positions.
Yeah, Martin Zemaule participated in the campaigns of his local government. Martin Zemaule, who is the suspended speaker, is from Obiapo local government area, same local government as that of the Minister of the FCT. He participated in the campaign and voted on the day of election. So that's clearly captured. His media aides sent out when he was voting. His media aides have also sent out when he participated in election and in electoral campaign. So that is clear that he's participated. From what I've heard so far, I hear that the suspended governor is not in the country. I hear he's out of the country and wasn't around, during the campaign and didn't vote, during the election. So it remains within the realms of conjecture now to say, look, maybe the suspended governor didn't support what was going on or not. He was not in town, so he wasn't seen at anywhere near the electoral campaign, and he was not seen anywhere near when they were voting. But that of the speaker, he certain that he was on ground, participated during the campaign, and voted. Now, one of the conditions, as stated by the Minister of FCT, who is one of the major actors in the what is going on in Rivers State, is that local government elections should hold. So local government election has held, and the Minister of FCT has also stated that, look, from what he thinks, he believes that with the conduct of the local government election, then all is now set for the president to lift the state of emergency declared on the 18th of September. So unfortunately for us, we have not seen the content of the agreement between the minister, the suspended governor, and President Bola Tinubu. When they met in the State House, we have not been able to see the outcome. What were the things that they agreed upon, consequent upon which certain action should happen? Could not see it. They've not made it open. But the Minister of FCT has been speaking more, and they have stated that, look, with the return of local government election in Rivers State, it means that the president should be calling off the state of emergency. But these are just the basic things, that are on ground for now. We do not know what is in the mind of the president.
All right.
Do you see this local government election as a solution to all of the political issues in Rivers State?
Well, I'm sure you know that at the outset, the Minister Governor of Rivers State and now the Minister of FCT was a key participant in the candidature of a now suspended governor. You all know what happened, prior to the arrival of the now suspended governor. I won the election, I was sworn in, the contributions of the Minister of the FCT and all of that. So for both parties to have met with the president, and for the president to have said, okay, look, I think you guys can go and work together. And one of the key things that happened immediately after they met with the president was that the suspended governor and the minister, of the FCT attended an occasion together almost immediately, after that period, attended an occasion together in Port Harcourt, even in the same vehicle together. So it could be part of what must have been agreed with the president. I think both of them are now trying to put their houses in order. The suspended governor also met with the suspended speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Probably a lot of meetings, must have gone on, behind the scene to see how they can quickly identify what caused, what led to the declaration of a state of emergency. All the issues surrounding that period have they been resolved? Also, is there anything that the president has told them? Did the president tell them that, look, when you have all agreed, I want all of you to put pen on paper and say, look, we have agreed to resolve all our differences? Maybe that might be the precursor to calling off the state of emergency. It's difficult at this point to know because they've not told us what was the outcome of that meeting in Abuja and what did the president tell them, so that they could say, okay, come with this. Once you bring this, and I know that everything has been resolved, then I cannot call off the state of emergency. We can only wait, for the days to come.
Okay, we'll delve a little bit deeper into this particular LG poll. But then I'd like you to also respond to comments, reactions from stakeholders and persons who are interested in what's happening in Rivers State currently regarding why the rush in conducting the LG poll. Why not wait until the governor is reinstated after the expiration of his suspension before this election was actually held? Do you see any reason as regards why it needed to hold before the governor was reinstated?
Like I said, there is an official gazette to the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. I have not seen a copy of that gazette to know whether the conduct of a local government election was inherent in that document. I have not seen it. So only that document can explain what has gone on. If the document is part of why we have declared the state of emergency and for it to be called off is that local government election must hold, then it has fallen within the purview of what the National Assembly approved for the president. I've not seen a copy of the gazette. So to know why they were so much in a rush to conduct local government election. Now remember, when the Minister of FCT and the suspended governor met, the suspended governor arrived at Rivers State and said, look, he had no problem with his Olalekan Ige, talking about the Minister of FCT. They've resolved their differences, a lot of waters are passed under the bridge, addressed his supporters in Port Harcourt and told them that, look, there is no longer a sinful barrack camp and a wicked camp. Both camps have now been fused into one. So I also do not know whether the conduct of local government election was also part of the agreement with President Bola Tinubu. We didn't see a copy of what they agreed at the meeting. You understand? So it's difficult now for us to say, were they so much in hurry to conduct local government election? What if conduct of local government election was part of the agreement the minister and the suspended governor had with the president? Nobody can tell. So two key documents are missing that can signpost what we should be saying. The first one is what was agreed in the State House when both sides met. That is one. Two, what are the things contained in the official gazette and signed by President Tinubu when he declares state of emergency in Rivers State? These two key documents, if we have it, then it could give us an idea of what to be saying at this point in time. But fortunately, we do not have them. So whatever we say now is within the realms of conjecture. And the only thing that can balance this is if the court now intervene. Remember, I told you that PDP governors have gone to Supreme Court to challenge that declaration of state of emergency. So what if the Supreme Court says, look, Mr. President did not have the power to suspend an elected governor, to suspend a state legislature? In Supreme Court rules that way, it means that everything founded on that declaration of state of emergency sits on services, null and void. What if Supreme Court says the president was also right to have declared the state of emergency and suspend the governor? It means that every plank put upon that declaration of emergency will stand. So the last hope or the last leveler now will be for the court to interpret what has gone on.
Well, do you even see an end to litigations with regards to Rivers State concerning, we're also talking about some whispers around the corridor on litigations against the conduct of the local government election. And with the one already on ground, do you see a possible end or soon with regards to Rivers State?
This is arguable and difficult to say. You cannot control or stop Rivers people or interested parties from heading to court. It's their guaranteed constitutional right to approach the court whenever they feel aggrieved. So it's difficult for us now to say there's a period, upon which litigations can stop. For as long as people feel they can challenge any process in court, it means that litigations will continue, maybe even up until 2027, general elections. Since 2023, there have been several litigations in court, even regarding the victory of suspended Governor Fubara. Some went to court. Eventually, Supreme Court ruled that Fubara was validly, returned, as governor of Rivers State. Thereafter, we had people whose tenure expired as local government chairmen. They went to court to go and say, look, the House of Assembly has amended the law to say that if election cannot be conducted immediately after their tenure ends, they can stay in office for another 6 months. Some people went to court to challenge it. The court eventually ruled that, look, they swore on oath to be there for 3 years and therefore their tenure can no longer be extended. The court quashed it. Some went to court again to say, no, the president, the governor doesn't have power to appoint caretaker committee. The challenge of that governor not being able to appoint caretaker committee conduct election was eventually delivered by Supreme Court, who stated that, look, the Independent Electoral Commission in Rivers State conducted the election without the mandatory 90 days notice. It annulled that set of elections. Now, another election has been conducted now. Some people are already in court to say, no, the Independent Electoral Commission should have given the mandatory minimum 90 days notice to conduct elections. So it's difficult to put a stop as to when, where, and how people go to court to argue over certain matters. So it's difficult, arguable, at this point in time.
But to what extent does all of these litigations impact on the people's interest and participation in political activities in Rivers?
Yeah, of course, you already know that the state of emergency has not done Rivers people any good. There is no fair-minded person in Rivers State that we agree that the state of emergency has brought a good tidings to the people. I don't think the sample opinion of the average Rivers, they've not been excited, with the state of emergency. So we could say that, look, the declaration of the state of emergency, the political battle between people from the same camp, of course, has affected the governance, in Rivers State. Projects awarded by the suspended governor, some of them have been stalled. Today, one of them is the Ring Road contract awarded to Julius Berger, for which Julius Berger has abandoned because they said they need more money after they've been paid almost 80%, of the initial sum. But Julius Berger says, look, they want to review, and Julius Berger is reviewing the amount to another over 100 billion, or about 150, 60 billion. Some other projects have been awarded by the suspended governor. Some of them are, hemorrhaging, stopping in the sense that maybe funding has not been regular. There are a whole lot of things that will have come the way of Rivers people in their elected governor, in office. All of these have been affected by the state of what is happening in the state as of today.
All right, Mr. Ige, I'd like you to respond to the issues that we tracked regarding the participation of voters during the local government polls. Now, some people are saying that the biggest winners of the day was actually voter apathy because people in Rivers State seem to be disinterested in the process. You were on ground. Could you bring us some understanding regarding how true these reactions are?
Well, I'm sure if you check very well, and this is not particular, to Rivers State from what I know and from what I've seen. Most people are usually not interested in local government elections. And you know why? Because they believe that the results are known already. If you check across the length and breadth of Nigeria, there is no state where a sitting governor has conducted local government election and his party members did not win all the seats. You see why a lot of people are disinterested in local government election? Because they already know there is not a fair contest. In fact, they know the winners even before the election takes place. They just mention anywhere, in any state in Nigeria, where a governor has conducted the election and his party didn't win all the seats, including all councillorship seats. That's why a lot of people are not interested in local government.
Do you see any solutions to that?
Is that?
Do you see any solutions to that?
Probably the only solution is for Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to take over the conduct of local government elections. Despite the reservations of a lot of Nigerians about INEC, they still feel that one of the best ways to get fair contest in an election is for it to be conducted by INEC. Even if you check it on a national scale, the major election that, should I say, vast majority of Nigerians are interested in is presidential election. Just check very well. Look at the last general election. Check all of our successive elections in Nigeria. People who are majorly interested in who becomes the president. Then once presidential election takes place, you find that there are a lot of people don't even bother to vote again. Some don't even bother to vote during governorship election. Some don't even bother to vote during national and state assembly election. I don't know why. I think we seem to have too much fixation on presidential election to the exclusion of other equally important positions, like who becomes the governor of your state, like who becomes your national assembly or state assembly member. Some people don't even know who is their state assembly member. Some don't even know who is their national assembly member. But they know who is their governor and they know who is the president. I think they just have certain fixations on certain positions. But that of local government, the terrible disenchantment of the people is because they feel that it's not a level playing ground for other political parties to contest election.
All right, Mr. Ige. Well, let's talk constitutional headwinds now. Now, we remember the Supreme Court judgment of July 11, 2024, where LG autonomy was ordered to be effectively implemented. Now, when we look at the structure of the Rivers state local government polls now and how the local government, new local government chairmen have come to be, do you see any issues regarding them being able to function more independently?
Well, the Supreme Court judgment stated that money should be paid directly.
From fact.
Should be paid directly to the accounts of the local government. There are still other several issues that I feel should be addressed if we have to have a headway, at the grassroots level. And one of the ways is how we conduct local government elections into those offices. Because as it is as of today, not just in Rivers State, but everywhere in Nigeria, the governor, or should I say the hegemonies, so let me not use only governor in this case now, let me say the hegemonies in the respective states across the length and breadth of Nigeria just simply sit down and determine who becomes the local government chairman. Even the parties don't conduct any credible primary, you understand, to select their candidate, especially when it comes to local government elections. So the Supreme Court has given a verdict, paid them their money directly. But of course, you know that there is no way anybody could have become a local government chairman without the prodding of a godfather, or without the prodding of the governor, the prodding of somebody who is sponsoring such person. So even when the monies are paid directly to the local government chairman, does this stop them, from being able to share money with their godfathers or whoever that brought them into the office? If they were brought into office by the governor, it means that the governor has a heavy influence on them, meaning that the governor can determine what they also do, at that level. So maybe the best way to cure all of this is also have one, credible primaries at the political level, and to probably take away the ability of state independent electoral commissions to conduct local government elections. Maybe that should be handed over to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Despite the reservations of Nigerians against INEC, I think they feel or believe that a fair or something that looks like a fair contest can take place if INEC conduct election. Without that, we'll continue to have a situation where chain monies in each of the states determine who becomes the local government chairman.
Okay, as we wind down the conversation, what can be done to salvage the situation in Rivers State, maybe in the meantime, to ensure a smooth reinstatement of the elected leaders?
What can be done lies within the prerogatives as it is as of today. Rivers people were not contacted when state of emergency was to be declared. So neither will they also be contacted when the state of emergency is to be lifted. The prerogative today, as of today, to lift the state of emergency lies on the laps of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So there's nothing Rivers people can do as it is as of today. The two major actors, the suspended governor and the Minister of FCT, also have a huge role to play in the ability of the president to call off the state of emergency. It's not about Rivers people. This is about two political leaders who had disagreement and was almost turning the state, into a very funny situation, prompting the president, according to him, to declare state of emergency. So it's not about Rivers people.
Well, Mr. Ige, if it is not about Rivers people, what does that then say about the democracy that we say we run?
What I'm saying is that Rivers people did not call for state of emergency. They didn't. And if they didn't call for a state of emergency, they also do not have that prerogative to say, look, President, call of the state of emergency. No. The president stated, while declaring that state of emergency, that certain conditions were precedent to his declaration of state of emergency. Even after that, some of the issues that the president stated were responsible for the declaration of state of emergency turned out to be rules. So it's obvious that there was more to it when the state of emergency was declared. So that's why I said, look, the prerogative to call of the state of emergency doesn't lie with that people who were not contacted when it was declared. The prerogative lies with the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the ability of the Minister of FCT and the suspended governor to bridge the gaps, identify what has been the problem, plug the loopholes, and say, look, we are ready for state of emergency to be called off. Not Rivers people.
Oh, as reinstatement of the suspended elected officers draws near, we are hoping that the drama that has characterized Rivers State for a long time now would begin to douse and draw to a close. Thank you very much, Rivers-based public affairs analyst Olalekan Ige, for speaking to us on Niger Delta today. We appreciate your views on the program.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, and thanks for having me.